what trending is better than anybody in the world. I've been trending my whole life. From the day I was born, I've been trending.
I like the good publicity and I like the bad publicity. It all plays.
If you haven't studied the fundamental principle of human stupidity, then you're either a highly functioning masochist or one of the very people those principles describe. In either case, buckle up, because we're about to crash headlong into the molten core of America's grand experiment in engineered ignorance. A wise scholar once laid out 5 immutable laws of stupidity. The most damning of these? That stupid people are more dangerous than evil people. Because evil, at least has intent. Stupid just is, like a raccoon in a meth lab. It doesn't know what it's doing, but by God, it's going to make a mess. Nowhere is this more evident than in MAGA, where the proudest badge of honor is making mistakes on purpose. You want proof? They stormed the Capitol.
It's the storming of the Capitol.
Thousands of supporters of President Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol building,
Waving the flag of the very government they were trying to overthrow. They scream about government tyranny, while willingly handing their tax dollars to billionaires. They rail against the elites while slavishly devoting themselves to a billionaire who literally gold plates his toilets. This is not just ignorance, it's ignorance weaponized. A movement so untethered from logic that it actively scorns those who dare to possess a basic grasp of cause and effect. They reject expertise as elitism, history as a conspiracy, and logic as a tool of the deep state. The second you present these people with facts, they vaporize into a fine mist of alternative reality. If it doesn't fit the narrative, it's fake news, an all-purpose phrase that functions less as an argument and more as a Jedi mind trick for the intellectually unarmed. MAGA devotees exist in a self-reinforcing echo chamber where belief trumps proof and volume substitutes for accuracy. Take their obsession with isolationism as an example. Time and time again, history has proven that when powerful nations turn inward and abandon global influence, they create power vacuums that their rivals are more than happy to fill. The United States spent the better part of the 20th century building alliances, crafting trade deals, and stabilizing the world to its advantage. The result? Economic dominance, military superiority, and diplomatic leverage. But MAGA isolationists want to tear all that down, convinced that withdrawing from the world will somehow make America stronger. They cheer as leaders pull out of international agreements, abandon long-standing allies, and dismantle diplomatic ties, all while claiming that it's about putting America first. But in reality, their brand of nationalism ensures America is left behind. When they rage against NATO, they forgot that alliances deter war. When they scoff at trade agreements, they ignore how dependent the American economy is on global markets. When they mock foreign aid, they fail to grasp that stability abroad prevents crises that spill over into U.S. borders. It's like throwing away your house keys because you're convinced burglars only exist in other people's neighborhoods. One of the immutable principles of stupidity states that truly stupid people harm others without gaining anything themselves. And if that doesn't encapsulate the MAGA ethos, I don't know what does. Consider the working class MAGA voter. He votes against healthcare, unions, infrastructure, and literally every policy that could improve his life, just to own the libs. He doesn't get richer. He doesn't get healthier. He just gets angrier and more willing to follow the cult leader off a cliff. And that's the difference. A political party offers ideas. A cult offers identity. You can argue with a Republican about tax policy. You cannot argue with a MAGA zealot about reality itself. You might as well try to explain algebra to a coyote in a red hat. A political party has a vision, a goal, a set of policies, things you can debate. A cult has a deity, unquestionable truths, and a fundamental aversion to introspection. The more their beliefs are challenged, the more fervently they cling to them. In a cult, logic is the enemy. In a cult, thinking for oneself is the highest betrayal. Stupidity, when properly harnessed, is a force more powerful than reason. The MAGA base, largely made up of working-class Americans, voters for a party that has spent decades ensuring that wages stagnate, healthcare remains unaffordable, and wealth inequality deepens. Yet they keep coming back, election after election, convinced that somehow, against all evidence, their loyalty will be rewarded. It's the ultimate political Ponzi scheme. The rich get richer, the poor get angrier, and the cycle repeats itself. MAGA leaders don't need to solve problems. They just need to keep the anger at a rolling boil. Every failure is blamed on some external enemy, the deep state. Immigrants, woke culture, George Soros, or whatever boogeyman they pull out of the hat that week. The terrifying reality is that stupidity, when properly fueled, is self-sustaining. The movement that has built an entire ecosystem designed to reinforce itself. News outlets that pander, social media algorithms that amplify rage, and politicians who understand that keeping their base uninformed is the key to staying in power. What the architects of this movement didn't count on is that once stupidity takes over, even they will be unable to control it.
Joe Biden is a failed president. She was a failed vice president. The worst president in the history, the worst vice president in history. He is incompetent. She's incompetent.
She can't talk.
She can't talk.
Low IQ. He's a low IQ individual.
She happens to be really a low IQ individual. She really does. She has a very low IQ.
At some point, the mob turns on the master, as history repeatedly shown. The problem with fueling mass ignorance is that eventually the masses start making their own rules. We may be entering a stupid renaissance, an era where people scream fake news at the sky while their homes crumble and their education system collapses. A time where the very notion of objective truth is considered elitism and reason is dismissed as a conspiracy against the common man. The lesson? If you see a MAGA devotee blundering toward the controls of democracy, tackle them before they pull the lever that sends us all off the cliff. Because history has shown that once stupidity takes the wheel, reason is just along for the ride, duct taped and gagged in the trunk of a car, speeding toward oblivion.